All right, let's hop into this thing. And as a side note, I hate daylight savings time. Well, hello, and thank you for taking the time to check out this weekly update. When I remember and I have the time, I like to make this weekly unedited vlog style video to summarize events that caught my attention globally, nationally, and in my immediate area. This summary helps me put everything into perspective on how it will impact me personally. I find this process helps cut through the hype, helping me stay more rational on what's going on in the world. And I decided to share this process on YouTube, kind of as a counter to the constant overreaction content that we tend to consume online. If you find what I'm doing useful, great. If at least you might get a good laugh out of me, how stupid I am at my expense, which I'm totally fine with. I'm just screwing around. So what I do is I'm an engineer, so I'm a dork. So I put things into a graph basically, or a chart to spell things out, what the issue is, and how I should properly react to it as a rational human being. Now, a rational human being is a subjective term, right? So let's just dive into this week. My interests at the international level, surprise, surprise, is the conflict in the Middle East, right? Everything's going on in the Gulf area again. Uh, things, depending on your source, look somewhat promising for the U.S. Uh, the Iran's capabilities to launch missiles and drones seems to be decreasing. Check your source on that. Uh, and there's less and less strikes, but there's still strikes getting through, right? Um, one of my favorite YouTubers to watch on current events and such is Ryan Macbeth. He's an open source intelligence analysis type guy, and he's been saying lately something that's really striking to me: shoot the archer, not the arrow. Right? Um, what's making headlines is every time a Iranian missile or drone impacts, a hotel in Dubai or a U.S. billion-dollar radar dome. You got to remember they're launching hundreds and hundreds of missiles. Our Patriot batteries and what's our one THAAD or whatever. You know, they're like a hockey goalie or a soccer goalie. They can block 100 shots, but if one gets by, it's devastating. So we can't rely on those. We got to target the source and all of that stuff. But I'm not a military strategist, so I'll digress from that. Um, Strikes are getting a little less, but there's a lot of strikes on the infrastructure itself, both in Iran uh, and its neighbors, who they've been trying to provoke into this mess, which is pretty logical tactic. So obviously, expect fuel prices to spike. They have been a little bit. I don't think it's the end of the world. Not all the oil comes out of the Gulf, Persian Gulf. Large percentage does. That will influence the market, plus the panic and all of that stuff. And the whole thing is not shut down. I think the biggest thing is they gotta start getting tankers out of the Strait of or past the Strait of Hormuz. That's not how you pronounce it, but whatever. I'm rambling now. You get it. There's a lot going on. Another aircraft carrier, uh, the George Bush is heading into that area with his strike group. So I don't know if the long term plan is to have three carriers there. I'm kind of thinking that maybe the Ford's rotating out. I don't know how long the Lincoln's been out, but again, I'm not a military strategist. Uh, it's going to be a long haul if we're going to be sending more resources like that over there. Not sure what I think about it, but it seems like it's what's going to be done, and hopefully it's done right this time. I've been rambling about this every couple days. You may notice I have a new playlist in this channel where I have a vlog like this where I'm just out on one of my daily walks and I just kind of recap what's going on. Uh, so if you find this interesting, you might find that interesting, which might make you a strange person. All right, let's talk about national stuff because national stuff has picked up a little bit. Earlier this week in midweek, I was kind of excited to see what's going on in Texas. Good job, Texas voters. Four Texas congressional incumbents are voted out or are leaving. Uh, Three officially through the primaries got the axe. One Republican, two Democrats, and then a second Republican narrowly was defeated in the primary, but the guy that beat him didn't have over 50% of the votes, so those two were going to go to a runoff. But that guy's kind of a dirtbag. I'm keeping names out. You know who it is if you're into that kind of thing, and if you're not, you don't want to be bored with it. So he was kind of forced to step down. So the guy that he went to a runoff election with 2 years ago is going to go in, and well, I'll say his name, Brandon Herrera. You're going to get to know that name pretty well because he's going to be shaking things up. Uh, he's he's a fun guy. For me, anyways. I've he's a YouTuber. He's a gun tube type guy, and he's also on the Unsubscribed podcast. I've followed both of them for years, and he's going to be a little bit different in there. It it seems the far left are freaking out because they're trying to throw everything they can at him, mainly because he's a big gun guy. And yeah, there's some interesting stuff. It's kind of fun to watch on the X and all that. Uh, but back to the main thing. Four incumbents, uh, both parties, two Democrats, two Republicans. The voters have had enough. They're out, and I love that. I think everybody's saying they want term limits. Term limits. Get out and vote them out in the primaries. That's my theory. Politicians are like diapers; they should be changed often for the same reason. And I don't care which side of the political aisle you sit on. If they're there too long, they turn to shit. And then a more serious note, this just happened yesterday. I just saw some stories. I don't have the whole picture, but there was an anti-Islamic protest in New York City. Uh, ooh, and of course that caused counter protest to happen. If you watch this at all, this weekly brief at all, if you look through the past ones I've done since I started doing this a few weeks ago, I am not a big fan of going to or being around protests this day and age in our current political climate. Don't get me wrong. I am 100% for your First Amendment rights of free speech and assembly. If you want to assemble and protest or strike on a topic that I agree with or disagree with, I am still 100% for your choice. I just think it's not the safe thing to do this day and age. And this is a perfect example why. Uh, from what I saw, people are out doing their civic right to protest. Other people were doing their civic right to counter protest because it's their free speech. But things escalated, and it just takes one or two bad people to make a iffy situation very bad. And some basically homemade hand grenades were thrown. Uh, uh, small explosive devices wrapped with nuts and bolts and screws to make shrapnel. Uh, Fortunately, they did not go off. Uh, Maybe it was a last minute bluff, or maybe it was they just didn't build it right or whatever. But either way, that ain't cool. I don't care which side of any argument you're on or what that argument is. Blowing up people who disagree with you on a civilian level like that is, and that's why I say just avoid protests altogether. You and all your friends and 99 of the 100 people on your side may be peaceful and respectful and won't even raise your voice. But it just takes that one to be the instigator and the agitator and all that stuff. Uh, and like I said, if I have no intention of being in a protest, I keep a good lookout at where they are so I can avoid them. I don't want to be the guy driving past that looks like one of the other guys and people start throwing rocks at my vehicle or something, Just avoid the whole thing. It sucks to say that, it really does. Your voice should be heard, but right now, there's too many crazy people. So, uh, another good example at that. So that's kind of what's going on here. And you see my actions, you know, uh, with the conflicts in the Middle East and how political it is by nature and how extreme our views are. I'm less concerned of cyber attacks and the sleeper cell type argument. I think if it would have happened, it would have happened by now. But hopefully, I'm never proven wrong on that. But still something to be concerned with. I'm more concerned with the lone wolf type, the people that just take actions on their own, the person that's been consumed too much by politics and religion and spend their whole days and nights arguing with strangers online, and they decide to go out and act on their own and do stupid stuff. So I still, I have probably always will avoid large groups, and when I'm out in public, I'm always, even in my remote area, keep an eye out for signs of things that are a little bit off. Um, with the disruptions in the infrastructure in the Middle East, with the oil and everything, with refineries and fuel depots and the tankers not being able to get out of port, there's going to be some more spikes in fuel prices. That's a coming. Just weather through it. I'm expecting that, so I'm adjusting my budget more, focusing more on savings, uh, less unnecessary trips, that kind of thing. Uh, Worst case scenario, I'll have the padding to absorb higher prices. Best case scenario, this will blow over in a month or 2 or 3, and I'll have a nice padded in my savings account that will be nice to have, or I can buy something fun. Who knows? We'll deal with that later. But this is the financial advice channel. This is just me taking a look at the big picture, trying to break down the cause and effects and what I can do to not overreact. So that's about it. And again, on a side note, this is more going to be covered more on my main YouTube channel, Scout75, where I do a lot on amateur radio, portable radio, communications, that kind of stuff. So if you're into that, check it out. I am putting a big effort into shoring up my communications with digital modes. One in particular, which will be useful for around here, is called APRS. It's basically a good way to share GPS locations and short messages over the radio. And there's a software that I have that I'm just started messing with that will build basically like an action map. I can see all, uh, it's kind of like it's same principle as your aircraft or ship tracking maps that you see. I can do that and then add things that are transmitting a beacon on the APRS network, and I can add stuff. So that's going to be kind of cool. Um, I intend to do a live stream for a good chunk of the day coming up at the end of this month. More coming on that, where I'm going to be kind of keeping a good eye on events as a nationwide protest is supposed to be taken off. So you probably know what I'm talking about. All right, that's about it. It's just trying to keep calm with what's going on in the Gulf, the Persian Gulf with Iran and everything. Uh, Trying to stay level-headed and not get overworked up about all the screaming from both the far left and the far right. So keep your head down, stay calm, and keep going through it. Stay safe out there, everyone. Thanks for watching.